Hi, hello, my name is Lottie, aka Sneezy Ferret, and don't worry, I'm not bleeding, it's just, it's staining from beetroot. I decided I couldn't be bothered to get a fork and use my fingers to get it out of the jar, because I'm an idiot. Anyway, what we're talking about today is digital ID. No, there isn't an awful lot of new updates, or at least any big ones, but there are a couple of points I want to discuss with you, and the reason being, I think Starmer's hoping that if he stops talking about digital ID, because you may notice that he's gone from talking about it every 5 minutes to kind of like every 5 days. Now, I think he's doing that to hope that the temperature of the UK kind of cools down a little bit before the public consultation at the end of the year, and I don't want that to happen. We need to remain on this. We need to make sure that we're still pressuring Parliament into knowing that we don't want it. So that's why we're going to cover it. So there are two bits of news, one annoying and the other one just kind of amusing. You'll understand why in a minute. So the first part is that Starmer has announced it will not be enforcing the digital ID scheme retrospectively, meaning that if you apply for a new job, you'll have to show your right to work with a digital ID, but people already in existing jobs will not have to do that. Now that in my mind then negates the whole kind of point of the whole thing, because he said it was being used for illegal immigration and to stop people working illegally. All those people now have to do is remain in the same bloody jobs. It's kind of pointless. Although me saying that will probably make him go, oh, well, we probably should. No, I don't think we should be having it at all. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is utterly needless and useless to even the points that they've been trying to make. So yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing, which is just kind of funny, is Darren Jones. Now, Darren Jones is Keir Starmer's right-hand man. And therefore he is definitely in agreement with the digital ID thing and has been trying his best, bless him, to convince the cabinet and therefore us that digital ID isn't just a good idea. It's not something which is just going to fix illegal immigration, but it is a cure for broken Britain. He thinks it's going to fix all of our problems. Darren Jones tells cabinet the policy is the answer to public frustration at what they perceive to be a dysfunctional state. The government's digital ID scheme is part of the answer in efforts to fix the broken state, Sir Keir Starmer's key ally has told ministers. At the weekly meeting of the cabinet, Starmer and his right-hand man, Darren Jones, argued the controversial policy is the answer to public frustration at what they perceive to be a dysfunctional state. Streamlining access to services through the new ID, which the PM announced last month, would help tackle the feeling that nothing is working as it should. No, the only thing not working as it should at the moment is our politicians. Maybe that's a cheap shot, but it is true. I have never in my whole life seen such political kind of incompetence as I have in the past few years. Not just Labour, multiple parties. They're just utterly incapable of doing their jobs. And that to me is very, very scary, oddly enough. It made me quite paranoid of government and their overreach, oddly enough. This digital ID, the fact that they think that this, well, no, that's not true. They don't think this is going to fix a damn thing. This is just because they love to copy Europe. All of them are in Europe's pocket. Europe is installing its own digital ID, and that is what this is. It's just an implementation of it in the UK. That's all it says. And it's not just going to be to confirm your right to work. This is going to be about everything. You only have to listen to Starmer talk about digital ID in other countries and how great they are in making banking so quick, that kind of thing. So it's not just going to be that. It's naive to think it will be. So yeah, let's get on with the article. Jones, the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister and MP for Bristol North West, told senior ministers that many people felt government no longer worked for them, despite attempts at tinkering with the system over the years. The reason why people don't think the government works for them is because of this. This is a good thing to try and get through to them. We have said we do not want digital ID, and they have said, tough, you're gonna have it anyway. And yet apparently people just feel like the government doesn't work for us. It's got nothing to do with the fact that politicians have spent the past couple of decades, probably forever, not listening, changing policies, outright lying to us, breaking the law themselves. You only have to look at how many ministers Keir Starmer's had to get rid of recently for that, to know that that's true. That's the reason. I'll remind you that right at the beginning of Starmer's prime ministership, I'm calling it that for now, he promised, well, his cabinet ministers promised that they would not install digital ID to help with the illegal immigration problem. The reason why they came out and said that directly was because Tony Blair had started raising his bloody head again to bring up the digital ID thing, and Labour was terrified that this may make the public angry. What has changed between then and now? Why did they know that then, but now they don't give a damn? Is it because they feel like we're going to be complacent about it, or that we will eventually comply? Probably. Because we do have a tendency in the UK of just going along with it in the end. We give up. We just get tired of fighting. And that's one of the reasons why I want to continue on this, because we really we shouldn't this time. Now, what Starmer's missed out on is that with the advent of the internet, people have access now to an awful lot more information. We're able to gather together, to talk to each other, to organise events, all sorts of things. We didn't have that in the past, so pretty much just had to go along with the government because we couldn't group up en masse, but now we can. And it is probably one of the reasons why Starmer has been so quick to introduce the child safety laws, for example, which seem less about protecting our children from horrible material online, but more to prevent them, or anyone else for that matter, from seeing more right-wing views. Although, I'll be honest, most of this stuff is not right-wing anymore. It's just news. This is no longer about politics. It's about privacy and security and being left alone, because that's what we want. I'll stop ranting. Let's get on with this. He argued the government must build a new state and shut down the legacy state, with the new digital ID to form a key part of this. Jones told colleagues the policy would make people's experience of that new state fundamentally much better, Downing Street said. The proposed digital IDs were announced by the PM last month and are due to be introduced by 2029. They will be required for anyone working in the UK as part of efforts to clamp down on illegal working and thereby curb illegal migration. It won't. How the hell is it going to help with that? Besides, anyway, I thought the majority of people who were coming in the country weren't actually looking for work. They were just on benefits. I mean, that's what the main argument is. I haven't looked at the numbers myself. Number 10 said that at Tuesday's meeting of the Cabinet, the Prime Minister argued his proposal for introducing a new digital ID scheme will give people much greater agency over their own lives and make it easier to access government services. Easier. Greater agency over our own lives. Yeah, it's weird that, because the one thing we've all kind of said en masse, although yes, there are a couple of dissenters, but they are in the minority, the majority of us have said we would like to remain private and rather anonymous. It's got none of the government's business. It's none of the government's business as to what we are doing. We do not want to be tracked. We do not want to live in a surveillance state. I've seen what Starmer has done when it means when it comes to complimenting other countries and how they run their own populaces, and I don't want that here. I do not want to become China. Oddly enough, the UK doesn't have social credit score, but I've got a feeling that Starmer, who does seem to be a bit of a control freak, would absolutely love that here. Is what I'm saying apparently a conspiracy theory? Yup. Do I care? Nope. Is it probably true? Yup. Very rarely do our government actually give a damn about what we want. It's only when those two kind of intersect, when what we want and they want kind of, yeah. While the ID scheme will not be mandatory, except for right-to-work checks, the PM said it could eliminate the need for obscure paper records. Just let you all know, I don't have a driver's license or a passport. I haven't been able to leave the country for many, many years because I've always had lots of animals with me, so that means not leaving. I gave up a dream holiday to Canada to stay with my animals. I won't leave them. So therefore, I've got no need for the government to have even more details on me. I am quite paranoid. I don't care. It's probably for the best. The policy is a controversial one, and almost 3 million people have signed a petition against the measures since the announcement. Yeah, more people would have signed it, but a lot of them have come to the conclusion of what's the point when the government's already said they're going to demand it anyway. If it's needed for work, around 30 million adults will need to sign up. Prior to the government's announcement, net support for such a policy was around 35%, but this has since plummeted to minus 14%, according to polling by More in Common. Quick question for everyone out there. Have any of you ever filled out one of these polls? Because I've never met anyone who has. I filled out one about radio many years ago, but never about this kind of thing. I'm sure they just ask themselves. And as for the 14% who agree with it, are they the same type of people that have been like, if you've got nothing to hide, then I'm sorry, but not wanting any government oversight into your life, being able to live a relatively anonymous one without anybody else knowing about it, it does not make you a criminal. And that's what that idea seems to insinuate. If you've got nothing to hide. Well, I've got nothing to personally hide. I haven't done anything wrong. But I like my privacy. I don't want someone looking at everything in my life and having all those details in one place. It's not safe. All the countries that Starmer keeps on mentioning that they've got digital ID and they do it well have all been hacked. Every single one of them. And I don't trust our government to have a secure framework for this because they're already basing it on the old system that they had for Michael Gove's one ID thing. And it didn't even fulfill government's own security requirements. And built in Romania on unsecured workstations. Now, he says he's going to learn from other countries' mistakes in regards to this to build the best secure system he can. But I don't trust that. No system is unhackable. And if anyone says it is, they are liars. They just are. Because anyone you meet who actually does this for a living will all tell you exactly the same thing. There is no such thing. And when you put this many details in one place, allow it to become that honeypot for scammers and hackers, it will be hacked. Because this will be great for them if they can get in, which means more people are likely to try. It's so stupid. It really is. Earlier this month, the iPaper reported that most voters believe Britain was broken, according to a poll by JL Partners. The most obvious thing. A public consultation on the design of the policy is due to launch by the end of this year. The intention is that every British citizen and legal resident will be entitled to a free digital ID. Well, it's not free, is it? The government seems to think that because they have money, it means that it's theirs. No, it's taxpayer money, meaning that the taxpayers already paid for this. And the intention... it just makes me angry. Number 10 has argued that this will allow those without passports or driving licenses to access jobs and services more easily. Starmer really needs to listen to the public, he really does, because there is something new happening. In the past, when we didn't have access to the internet and therefore couldn't get together and organise things, people were a lot more likely to comply because they felt kind of isolated. They didn't realise that the majority felt like them. The internet has been brilliant for all of us. It's given us the place to be able to get together and realise, actually, no, the majority of people are with us on certain things. And people are starting to get angry. We've seen it happen in other countries when governments start to enforce this kind of thing. Enforce things where the public really don't want them. And people have had enough in this country. I don't think we're going to stay as calm this time around as we have in the past. And I think Starmer really needs to get that into his head. I have been questioning recently whether him talking about digital ID at all, the reason why he's still going ahead with it is because it's giving us something else to focus on while something else happens in the background, a distraction news. But I can't put my finger on what that might happen to be at the moment. The whole thing is just very, very concerning that we're never listened to. We vote in people time and time again who do not have our best interests at heart. And I don't think it's possible for us to find someone who does. Because the people who seem to move towards these jobs, or at least try to get into these jobs, have their own agendas, let's say. So I got to be careful with what I say because, again, YouTube. I don't want to be accused of being a conspiracy theorist. I will just say that it's just weird how Starmer changes his mind so quickly when his European friends change theirs or announce something. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. I've got a ferret wanting my attention. Mwah. Say hi. You going to say hello? Yeah. So I'm going to leave you all to it. I shall see you all in the next video. Love you very much. Please, please, please take care because nobody else is going to. Why are you damp? Have you been in the bath? You have been in the bath. Oh, all right. Bye-bye, everybody. Love you all. Mwah. That's my arm.